Hello there, Senators, and welcome back to Star Wars Democracy. We got a lot to talk about tonight, and we are starting with The Bad Batch Season 3. I got Journeyman here with me tonight. How are you doing, Journeyman? Uh-oh, he's frozen. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yep. There we go.
There we go. How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. It's going to be fun because we haven't talked at all about The Bad Batch Season
Nope.
3, first couple episodes, so I figured we would just jump right into it. So you watched them all today, I guess?
Yep. Tonight, I literally just finished them.
Tonight. Okay, so should we do... I watched them on Wednesday, so my memory might be a little bit foggy, although they're pretty good episodes in my opinion, so I do remember quite a bit from them. Should we do our ranking out of 10 for each, like 1, 2, and 3, or should we just do one solid rate out of 10 for all 3 episodes?
I think we should do all 3 episodes that way because they came out in a bunch. So I feel like we should do them in a bunch as well.
In a bunch. Okay, cool. Before we get started, we got Senator Kathleen here. It's good to see you, Cat Spas. Long time no see. So glad that you could join us here tonight. Okay, so you go first, or me go first? You talk first. Talk first.
I'll let you talk first since your memory's a little foggy, and then I can try and.
We have a request from the senator. She says do each episode. So now I feel like we have to do each episode. So we'll do our ranking we'll do our overall ranking, and then we can dive into each episode.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna do or was wanting to do.
Fair enough. So I would say, I'm the type of person where it takes a lot, I feel like, for me to give a 10 out of 10. It's like that's a perfect score. So it doesn't feel... These episodes were good, but I don't know if I can sit here confidently and say they were 10 out of 10s. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for me, 10 out of 10s is kind of reserved for like special occasions or special moments that you're just like, this is really well done. Plus, the whole episode was really good, and the 10 just really
Sure.
adds it. My whole point with that is kind of like Anakin's return for Ahsoka. Like, that's an episode for me for a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So I would say, like,
Yeah.
for me, and that's not to say that you can't do...
No,
You can't have a 10 out of 10. It's subjective. I would say for me, if we're doing half points, are we doing half points?
We can do half points.
Okay, half points. I'm gonna go out on a branch here.
Okay.
And I feel like you're probably gonna disagree with me. I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I want to hear your reasoning, but do you want me to give my ranking?
Yeah, go ahead and give yours. Yeah.
Okay. So I literally just watched them. I thought they were good episodes. I would probably give it 8.5.
Okay.
So really good, really well done, but we can get into it here for the finer points, but that's my rating for him.
Yeah. Senator is aligned with you, so 8.5 for all 3 as well. So you're not alone, as it would seem. No, so 9.5. So, and when we get into these individual scores, I feel like my scores are not going to average out to 9.5. So it's almost like the 9.5 is viewed as it collectively, but it's not necessarily an average, which doesn't make any sense, but that's what I'm going with. So
our collective score is 8.5 and yours is 9.5, right?
Yes.
I think now we should start with the first episode and what were our thoughts on that.
Okay.
First so that we can kind of discuss them.
What was the first episode called? I don't even... It's Paths of something, I think, right? Will you look it up?
I got it right here.
Yeah. Okay. Look it up for me.
Um,
But it's all about Omega, which I thought was really interesting. And one thing, and I'm just going to say this out front right now about the Bad Batch that
it's called Confined. First episode is Confined.
the next episode 2 is called Paths of the Unknown or something like that, I believe.
Paths Unknown, yeah. But
Yeah. So
let's talk about Confined first.
fine. Yeah. So all about Omega. What I was going to say was something I was really impressed with. And I noticed, and I think it's partially because I've been trying to write my book recently, my fantasy Star Wars Narnia type novel. So I've been kind of like studying up on storytelling and just things like that. I really felt like the storytelling of these 3 episodes were really good, in my opinion. They
Yes.
really sucked you in. And like one of the examples I think was really good storytelling. There's a lot of uses of, I think there's an exact word for it in like actual storytelling, but I don't know exactly what it's called. But basically, like showing you subtle ways of showing you that time is passing.
Yeah.
I know for sure there's a word for it, but I can't think of it. But for example, in the first episode, Confined, it's the hair. And it's not really as subtle in the first episode, but it's, she's marking the rotations off in her cell. Her hair grows, and it's just like they didn't have to do that, like they could have just had her.
Yep.
We didn't gain a lot from her from that first little sequence where she'd only been in there for a few rotations.
Yep.
But it was put in there intentionally to show you like Omega's like she's been here a while. Like, she's going through it, and she's going to start wondering and losing hope eventually. Like, or maybe she doesn't, because she's a very hopeful, very positive character. But one would assume someone in her position would be like, wow, she's really going through it. Like, one must wonder if she would have to wonder. I would wonder, am I actually going to get out of this place?
Well, I think it shows you, just from kind of that standpoint of like the time passing and everything, it's kind of like a visual aid for the audience. But what I really liked about it was it made me feel like I was actually like Crosshair or one of the other clones, and not really Omega. Like, yes, it's from Omega's perspective, but it's like you really get the sense of like you're a clone. It's the mundane, everyday, do the same thing, do the same words, do everything that you were gonna do there. It's so boring and dull and dreary, and it's like you said, like, when am I ever gonna get out? Like, when are we ever gonna pick up? But that's one thing that I will say from the first episode is I was kind of worried is, are we ever going to move it forward? That was my whole, but I felt like my thoughts on it are, I thought the episode, if this was not season 3, I guess, and like the final episode, this was probably placed in season 2. Honestly, that episode would have been like a filler episode, but they're setting the tone for the whole season.
True. I would agree. Well, and it's filler, but it's not filler. I know exactly what you're saying, because it didn't really push a whole lot forward. But you're absolutely right. It's the perfect way to start the season, because we did get a lot of information on why Omega is actually there. She's there because she is
it's answering a
being
lot of
researched
questions. I
on.
feel like if you're gonna do a filler episode, that's the way you should do it, is give us information from it, not just here's a random episode. It's like, okay, why are we here? And I felt like they did that.
Yeah. So like one of the first things I wondered about was when Nala Se started throwing Omega's blood samples away. Like, she obviously knows something about Omega. My first question, and I feel like we'll dig into this more knowing what we know from episode 3, but were you under the impression at that point that she might actually be force sensitive? Like, did you think that was maybe the secret? Because
No,
I was
but
under the impression when she was throwing the blood away, okay, I was like, maybe she like is force sensitive.
I thought I knew it. I heard rumblings, even though I didn't hear rumors. I heard that we were probably going to get patches to what we know now as the sequels. Like it's going that
Mhm.
way. And so as soon as they started doing that, I'm like, okay, is this what I think they're going to? And they kind of answered it in the third episode. But um, my whole thought was on it. I thought they might try to not restart the clone project, but I thought they were wanting to um, maybe make a few more troopers, even though they killed everyone on Camino. I thought they were maybe saying, okay, let's add a few more troopers. That way we're stocked and everything, and then we can do whatever. That's honestly my first thought. But once they said in count in that
Mhm.
my whole theory kind of went out the door there.
Yeah, I had it written here. So I'm not sure if this is exactly word for word, but that was when I was like, okay, this is getting really interesting. When Dr. Hemlock says the Emperor, no, Nala says the Emperor should be pleased we accomplished a successful transfer. And then Hemlock
Hmm.
says, not when the M count was severely diminished in the process. We need to match or exceed the specimen's original count. And I'm like, okay,
Which
this is where the
which
fun begins.
it is where the fun begins. I'm confused though because
Hmm.
she's the daughter, right? The quote unquote daughter of um help me remember Jango Fett, right?
Well, she's a clone.
She's a clone. Dot,
So it's tough, but she's
my question is, how does she get the M count? That's kind of it. That was my whole logic behind it. It's like she's a daughter of Jango.
mhm.
Jango's not a clone or not a.
Yeah.
So that was my whole thing. But then again, we apparent there's a lot of Force people in the galaxy that we don't realize.
Yeah, well, and I think, I think the thing about the M count is and why she could have a high M count, and I think it's still the jury's still out on whether that is actually a thing, is,
Yeah,
yes, she is a female and Django was a male, so she was genetically altered. So she's
true,
Django's sister.
true.
Not daughter. She's his sister, but she's
Sister,
genetically
yeah,
altered, just like Hunter, Wrecker, et cetera, et cetera. They're all genetically altered in some way that has some ability. So I think the argument
true.
could be that she has a midichlorian count because she was genetically altered. But like I said, I think the jury's still out on whether she actually is force sensitive. That was just I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
this is when I saw the centrifuge turning,
yeah.
and then them talking about the M count in the first episode, I was like, okay, this is the direction they're going. Like she's going to be force sensitive. We're all just going to have to get over it and deal with it, basically. So, but
But
luckily, it
basically, the
doesn't look
first
like him.
episode was just all on Omega going through the mundane thing. That was
Hmm.
pretty much the first episode.
And us learning about what the Empire is, our
Yeah,
first hints on what the Empire is actually doing. Let me go through some comments really quick, and then we can
sure.
keep going here. Tony says, and Tony's here. Says, sorry, I'm late. I was doing NASA stuff. Yeah, he's been. He was telling me a little bit in our Discord. When he's not looking at Star Wars, doing Star Wars stuff, he's been very invested in space stuff lately. So you have to
Hmm.
keep us up to date on all the NASA happenings, Tony. Let's see. Cat Spa says Omega's influence on three characters: her sister, Crosshair, and the dog. Yeah, we can't forget about. We talked a little bit
No.
about Crosshair. We didn't talk about
Hmm.
dog. What was the dog's name?
Um,
Started with a
gosh, you're
B, I
really gonna
think.
Beta.
Batcher.
That Patrick. Yeah.
Batcher, right? Yeah,
No.
Batcher.
Yeah.
Batcher, and then sister Emery. Which did you know? Did you remember that from season 2?
I as soon as I kind of booted up Disney Plus, I'm like, wait, didn't she have a sister? So, and
Mm-hmm.
then they talked about it, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
I
Emery, the
totally forgot
sister.
about that.
It'll be interesting to see if there's a redemption arc for the sister in all of this, but only time will tell. Um,
Hmm.
let's see. Also, Amuchi, I think that's from season 1, following the good force user traits like Ezra with his attachments to animals. Yes. Omega, I feel like, is just a very genuine character.
Well, and Crosshair said it too. Like she trusts too much,
You trust too
which
much. Yeah.
that's her good character. It's just
Yeah. And there's probably, and what does she say in return? Maybe you don't trust enough or something like that.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what she said.
Hmm. Cat Spas says episode 2 felt more fillery to me. Yeah, I would agree. We'll get into episode 2 in a little bit.
Hmm.
Tony says Palpatine. I like filler episodes. Catspaw says Nala Se created Omega. Yes, and then she says I think both Boa and Omega had Jedi blood / code infused in their genetic code. That is why there was no degrading in their blood. Interesting. So I'd be curious if you have any more evidence, Catspaws, to support that claim of having gen. So you think, in that logic, do you think Boba Fett then has a midichlorian clout? Or, I mean, I guess you don't explicitly say it here, but based off of your comment, am I understanding correctly that you would say that both Omega and Boba have M counts, midichlorian counts? Let me know. Goes on to say Omega is a clone of Django's sister. His sister, Arla Fett. Is that a
Um,
theory or is that confirmed? I feel like that might just be a theory, but you'll have to let me know. Tony says episode 2 was all about 1, discovering Hemlock's past failed science experiments, some info about the status of all the young clones. They all died except for these 3. The info to get to the next location. Yeah, so perhaps not all filler, but anyway, is there any more that you want to talk about episode 1 before we give our scores?
no,
Okay.
I'm good.
So for episode 1, even though it's a lot of mundane, um, I would say that it's a I want to say 8.5, but I think I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9. I think I'm going to give it a 9. What say
I'm
you?
gonna give I'm gonna give it it should average out to 8.5 as our total score, but I'm gonna give it a 7 just because it was really great storytelling. It pushed the story forward, but I wasn't overly excited with the episode. It was just like once again, I felt like I was the clones. I was just there getting through it, trying to get through the whole story of it. Even though it brought me back into that world of Bad Batch, it was like a really good starter for me.
Mm-hmm. So final score is
So a 7.
7. Okay,
Yeah,
7
on that episode.
on that episode. Okay, so I'll be curious to see here what your score is for episode 2. Kathleen says, yes, Tony, I'm not saying it's a bad episode, but could have actually been included as a side story in episode 1. So a little bit of debate in the comment section between the senators. I'd love to see it. So I guess going into episode 2, Paths
Yeah.
Unknown. Um, I did think it was interesting. I'll bring up Tony's comment again because he kind of hits on all the things that I thought were
Yeah.
interesting about it. But it is interesting to see that Hemlock has been working on, like, he's a kind of like a mad scientist almost. Like he just works on different projects and experiments and is trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like this episode to me, I don't know even if I'd go as far to say that was filler, because if you remember from last week, we kind of talked about this. One of the um, reviewers, someone who had saw it early, basically said like there's a kind of like a fine line, not a
Yes.
fine line. I guess maybe what I'm trying to say is the lines are a little bit mixed as
Yeah.
to the adventure of the week and the overall plot of season
Story.
3. And that's what it
Yeah.
kind of felt like. It felt kind of, on one hand, this is the adventure of the week, but it was all to move the plot forward in a meaningful
Yes.
way. So
Yes.
I'll give it credit in that sense, is that I could at least make the connection between the side mission and the greater story, the greater plot, but it still will probably come up short for me, in that I would probably give that episode specifically like a 7.5,
Okay.
maybe 7.5.
I okay. My rating is probably going to be probably that 8.5. I really liked it just because
Really?
at the at the end of that, I felt like it actually moved the story forward and wasn't just I could feel the if it was doing a week to week thing, I could feel the episode of the week type vibe from it.
Mhm, mhm,
But I at the end of that, I felt like, okay, we're actually moving the story forward, which is what I ultimately like as a viewer, personal viewer. I just I want to have that feeling each week of like, hey, this was a great episode. Did we actually move the story forward? And I felt like we did at that point. We had the status of the young clones, which information we really didn't need, but I felt like it was an important thing just for us to be like, hey, what happened to all the like kid clones or whatever
mhm,
happened? And it wasn't information that we necessarily needed, but I felt like it added to it. And then Hemlock's stuff, understanding that hey, the Empire's doing more experiments than we ever thought they were doing,
mhm,
adding to his character, and then the info on where is Omega starting to like find what it was that
mhm,
they're searching for.
mhm.
I found it like it actually pushed the story forward instead of just like keeping us in a holding pattern, essentially. At
Yeah,
least that's
yeah,
what I felt like.
yeah. No, I mean, I'd agree. I think that I agree in the sense that the storytelling aspect is there. That's been one thing I've been I was impressed with these first 3 episodes. Um,
I will say though, the thing I hated about it, just because if we're doing the episode of the week thing, like the jungle vines, that has to be like that to me felt like the Mando spider thing.
yeah,
And I'm like, really, vines? That's what we're doing here?
yeah. I mean, yeah, I'll give it this, I was a little bit worried that since they were releasing 3 episodes, that it was going to be because these 3 episodes were very, very, very slow, and they were like, "Okay, in order to make them happy, we'll just give them all 3 at one time." But I will
Yeah.
say that, episode 1 was good. I mean, I gave it a 9 in my opinion. Episode 2 is
Hmm.
a little bit slower, but I could still see how it connects to the overall plot. So I would have been a little bit disappointed if that was a standalone episode. And then,
Hmm.
we'll get into the 3rd episode in a little bit, but I will say all of them, I feel like I would be decently satisfied with if we had only received one of them. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. For the most part, yeah.
For the most part? Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I have a really, really crazy theory I wanna run by you and the rest of the people in the chat for episode 3. I'm actually
Okay.
gonna make a short video about it because I haven't really seen anybody else talking about it, and I feel like I'm on to something with this one, so we'll see if you guys agree with me here in a second. So,
Okay.
I give it a 7.5 out of 10, episode 2. You gave it a
Eight
8.5? Is that what you said?
8.5, yeah.
8.5. Okay, cool, 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 cool. By the way, what did Tony and Cat Spas, and it looks like we might have a third viewer right now. If you all want to leave your ratings out of 10 for episode 1 and episode 2 in the chat, that would be awesome. We're about to go to 3 right now. So stay tuned because I want to run by everyone in the chat my theory for the video that's coming out in the very, very near future. So let's see. Tony says episode 2 allows us as viewers to see how bad Hemlock is. Yeah. One thing I've been very happy with too is the storytelling behind the villain.
Yes.
And you really like they're kind of just slowly not teasing us, but showing us that he is very, kind of nefarious and very dark. Like he is kind of evil. One thing that's interesting
Felt like
too.
they're doing. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say really quick, Star Wars Meg, who I was watching, I don't know if this was her theory or if this is somebody else's theory, but so she was saying that Hemlock has the same like eye color as Snoke or something. So it's like we can get into this in episode 3 because I feel like it might tie in a little bit better. But she's basically saying like, what if he ends up being used as the vessel for the creation of Snoke or something like that? And I was like,
that'd be interesting.
That is kind of interesting. But anyway, what were you going to say before we go on to episode 3?
Well, episode 2 for the how bad Hemlock is, I felt like they're giving him the Thrawn treatment. And the reason I say that is we're really allowed to connect to Thrawn and like understand his background, understand his kind of history. Even though we don't have a lot of history on him, we at least understand he's like a mad scientist, and that's kind of what I felt like they were giving him is like kind of his more or less background and kind of like what he's been doing, and we're just kind of like giving him that Thrawn treatment of like the full kind of more or less context about who he is. And that's what I like. Cause like, I felt like maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like what Star Wars has kind of done is they not really dug deep on those villains as much and allowed us to connect to the villains. So we're just like, why are these episodes a thing? It just feels like we're here for the heroes and not really the villains. And I'm like, there's no way for me to connect to this story at all. Like I want both sides of the story to feel like the good and the bad of like both perspectives. That's what I've wanted, and I'm glad that they gave it to us.
Yeah, for sure. Cat Spa says it seems to be the prevailing theory of Omega being a female clone. Arla Fett was blonde also, so it makes sense that is why Omega is a girl. I am a casuals fan, Star Wars fan, as we discussed last week. So I don't know a ton about Arla Fett.
Yeah,
My gut tells me though that this is just a genetically modified version of Jango Fett.
That's what it seems like.
That's what it seems like to me. That's just what I think, but you might be onto something as well. Goes on to say there's some crazy experience happening on Tantus for sure. That's a really good point because if I'm understanding what you're saying, I am in agreement. I don't think that cloning is probably the only thing that's going on Mount Tantus.
No.
There's probably a lot more going on. What is going on? I don't know. Besides cloning.
Yeah.
But I agree. I agree. Says I agree with your theory as to why they released all 3. So Tony says she was taken by Death Watch and made an assassin, later getting captured by the Empire. Okay, so is this Legends? Or there you go. He said it in the next comment. Arla is Legends. So this is not.
Canonized.
Canon. Yeah. So, but it's still a viable theory. Tony says 7.876. So I'm not sure. That's a very specific number, Tony. Thank you much for sharing. Is that a combination of the 2 episodes, or I don't know? You have to let me know what that score is. Cat Spa says episode 2 an 8 out of 10. Okay, so right smack dab in the middle of us. Let's see. Tony says, before I forget, don't forget that Hemlock keeps rubbing his left hand. Okay, thank you for bringing that up. Totally wasn't thinking about that, but you are absolutely right. Have you, after Tony said that,
Yeah,
have you also noticed that?
I
Do you think
feel
it's a
like it's
mechanical
from his.
hand?
I don't think it's mechanical hand. I think it's from him doing experiments. I feel like something has gone wrong, and he's just been covering up the glove for whatever wrong. Because
He's like
the
he's
weird,
injured or something.
I think he might be doing experiments on himself because they keep doing that thing with the hand,
Mm-hmm.
like the blood. So for him to like still be messing with his hand or messing how like just keep having that hand be a thing in the show and it keep popping up, I feel like he's probably doing experiments on himself and that's why he's always fiddling with it because something's going wrong with him.
I think we need to tie our ideas together here. I feel like you, me, and Kathleen have now said things, and now it's starting to kind of piece things together. So Catspaw says, since I heard about the Hemlock is Snoke thing, I'm kind of thinking maybe Palpatine made Hemlock start experimenting on himself. So you, you know, taking what I
I,
said, taking what you just said, is you think that he is experimenting on himself, and then what Kat is saying, maybe there is some truth then to the Snoke thing. Maybe he created Snoke from himself.
possibly. I mean, it makes sense. Like the Emperor's not just gonna do the experiments on himself. Like he needs someone to test it out before he ever gets close to that thing. Like
Yeah,
attempting it himself. So,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you,
so,
Tony, for bringing that up because I did see that, but it's definitely worth talking about because something is definitely going on.
and I think that's a perfect segue to get into episode 3 then.
Yeah, yeah. A few more comments here. Tony says, I asked my AI for his rating. That's what I got.
I love it.
Catspaw says there's definitely something going on with his hand. Agree with Journeyman, an experiment gone wrong. So there you go. Yeah, let's dive into episode 3. So should I tell you my theory first or should I save it?
Let's save it till the end and then we
Okay,
can
save it for
discuss
the
it.
end.
So, episode 3, Shadows of Tantus. It starts off with I literally just watched it. What um it starts off back with Omega trying to still going about the mundane life, right?
I think so, yeah.
And then literally I just watched it. Why am I blanking on this?
Well, basically she goes and she goes to Nalase, and I believe they're like, Nalase, come with me. Emery, who's
Yeah.
the clone, is like, he's like, will you take over because we have a guest or something coming.
Yes.
And so that's kind of where the suspense comes from, is she does end up taking Omega's blood and putting it in that centrifuge, and it starts turning, which again is a really great subtle way of telling time. And it's like that thing is just
Yeah.
counting down, and it's just one more layer of suspense.
Yep.
So it's a pretty creative way of doing it, I think.
Yeah. So she comes to him. They start doing their thing. I'm kind of looking at the episode, trying to jog my memory again.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know if you thought this, but I don't know why, but I thought it might be Vader. I know we're probably getting Vader at the end of season 3, but for whatever reason, I'm like, are we getting Vader right now? I don't know why. I just thought that it could be him.
Yeah, I think I had seen some of the spoilers already, so I knew it was Palpatine, but I could see why you would think it was Vader. So
Which I know I saw the trailers, so I heard the Emperor's voice, but I was in that moment. I'm just like, I don't know why. I just thought it might be Vader. So Emperor comes off of the ship. basically she's trying to find an escape plan. That's what she's been trying to
Mhm.
do for all this long. She finally Nalase basically tells her, "Hey, here's your escape plan that you haven't thought of
Mhm.
yet," which I thought
Mhm.
was kind of funny. I'm like, "Oh, just dropped in your lab. Here you go."
Yeah. 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 No, Nalase says like if Emery tests your results, you'll be in danger, which tells us
Danger.
that she knew what Omega was or what
Yeah,
Omega's abilities or whatever you want to say.
yeah,
Nalase knew. Um, Senator Kathleen says episode had me on my toes. Omega's influence from episode one paid off, and I really love that. Like,
yeah,
it's not even subtle messaging; it's just messaging. It's like, and this could be like, this is not overcomplicating at all, but it's like just doing those good deeds,
yeah,
um, like sowing those good deeds, and in due time you'll reap a harvest. So it's like Omega, out of the kindness of her heart, was doing nice things for Baxter. Badger.
yeah.
There we go.
Better.
We got there. Um, and it pays off, and it's like those random acts of kindness, like eventually
Especially,
you'll reap a harvest from it, which is sort of
especially
biblical.
for Crosshair, because Crosshair's like,
Yes.
"Just leave me. Like,
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
don't need me." And she's like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm coming back to get you. Like, you're my brother." I So when
Yeah.
they finally escape, he's like, "Okay, I guess I got to do this now." Like
Yeah.
he
Well,
feels
and it's like
compelled to.
it's one of those things where it. I feel like in seasons 1 and 2, Omega's character has just been kinda, like, in your face a little bit,
Yes.
It's just like she's just it's like, I like it, but it's just kind of like, why has she gotta be that way? Like, annoyingly nice, um,
Once
and
again,
so
I
I was
think they're
kind
doing it. I think they're doing Ahsoka's art is in your face, and then she kind of grows up, and that's kind of what I felt like she's
yeah,
been doing.
yeah, I would agree. It does feel like in this episode, it felt a little bit more natural, so, um,
And then what did they call the plan for Snoke, or I guess potentially Snoke
the
Necrominer? It
project
was yeah, was it
Necromancer.
Necromancer? Which
W
I, I thought the other plan that they were talking about, which I don't know why I thought it about this. It was the plan in Rogue One, I believe,
Mhm.
that they talked about. I thought that's what they were referencing.
No, that's different. Someone in the chat, either Kathleen or Tony, can put what that plan is. It was called something though.
Yeah,
The
but
Project Necromancer is new. Um,
mhm,
when I had heard, so this is this will make sense whenever I say it, but when I first heard it, Necromancer, I was like, okay, this is like in my mind, I was like, this is a newer idea. This is a newer concept. Where have I heard that before? And do you know what project it's in? It's so this is the second time it's been mentioned in Star Wars. Do you know where it
uh,
was mentioned the first time? Necromancer,
Mando.
The Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah, right.
So, which makes sense of why it was so vague to me is like because I don't even really remember what happened in Mandalorian season 3, but here we are.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they mention it. If you remember the scene where Moff Gideon goes and he meets with the Shadow Council with all those different like high level Imperial
yeah.
officers, Hux, who General Hux from the sequels, his
Mhm,
father brings up Project Necromancer and talks about it being it's basically the project that will help bring in new leadership for the Empire. Is how
mm,
he describes it. So it's like immediately it's like, okay, new leadership for the Empire. Like this sounds like Palpatine episode 9 stuff,
yeah,
right?
right.
So Project Necromancer, and then you hear it again. And when Palpatine and the Bad Batch says there's nothing of greater importance to secure the future of this empire, then it's
Hmm.
like, okay, he's obviously thinking it's obviously cloning. We know for sure it's cloning. And then
Hmm.
second, it's definitely, some people were saying, oh, maybe it's force sensitive clones.
No.
It's like stormtrooper clone type things, but I am under the impression that this is all about, and that may be a part of it, but this is mainly Palpatine's contingency for what we see in episode 9 of how am I going to continue being the emperor forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, basically.
Basically wanting to become a god at that point. And that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he's trying to do, and his way of doing that is to become he needs a vessel which will support a high midichlorian count, and that vessel is Omega. And so what this also tells me is, because we know in episode 9 he's not successful. His vessel is, they're successful to a point, but the vessel that he gets is, and I know Star Wars Theory talks about this a lot, it's not ideal for him. It's not what he wanted. Obviously, like, he can't be out doing things. He's hooked up to that machine and stuff, right? So we know that they're not successful, which tells me that Omega will likely get away, or maybe sacrifice herself, which is kind of dark to think about. But the point is they aren't successful.
Yeah.
And which is really interesting, because see, this is why I love doing these streams, because now I'm wondering if I have another video idea, like piecing together what you and me and Kathleen said. It's like, if Palpatine finds out that Omega was the key to securing the future of the Empire, like she was the vessel that he needed to transfer his essence in, and he knows that Hemlock let her escape, or didn't prevent her from escaping, he's going to be like, sorry, buddy, now you're going to fix this. Do what must be done.
And you're going to do it my way this time.
And you're going to do it my way, and it's going to be on you. What are your thoughts on that?
That's the question that I was leading off, is like, well, why isn't he telling Emperor Palpatine? Like, if he knows, like, this is the person, that would be, well, like, first person.
He didn't know till Palpatine had left.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, go give him a call, basically. Like, if you know the answer, and although at that point, like you said in the episode, like, you have all the resources now, do what must be done, like you said, like, so he has the Emperor's approval on everything, basically. He doesn't really need his approval on anything. So yeah, he has, like, all that.
I could see what happens is, because he also says whatever is needed to accomplish this goal, you will have it. And to me, that sounds like, we know that there's going to be like bounty hunters, like Cad Bane and things like that. So he'll probably use like bounty hunters to try to get her back, but you got to wonder if anything is at his disposal, if he knows that Vader is available to him, he's going to be like, okay, I'm calling in the cavalry. And then Wrecker's going to have to put up with his own cavalry. The cavalry has arrived. So yeah, it makes me think that Vader's going to swoop in and then probably not be successful, whether Omega sacrifices herself or just gets so far away from him and goes into hiding. And then Palpatine's going to be like, I gave you everything and you still couldn't do this for me. Now you're going to figure it out and do it yourself. So it's a good theory. A good theory for sure. So yeah, that's Project Necromancer. So that kind of leads into my theory. Do you want to hear about my theory?
Sure.
Do you all want to hear about my theory? Okay.
I'd love to hear about it.
Prior to the Bad Batch coming out, now this is not confirmed. This is just people were talking about it and stuff. Sam Jackson wants to come back and play Mace Windu. And that's not directly related to my theory, but they talk a lot about in the vault. They go into the vault, the chamber opens up and you see Palpatine look into it. And they're force sensitives, because they're using the force sensitives count blood to transfer from vessel to vessel. So I'm thinking that these could be potentially captured Jedi after Order 66, maybe badly injured Jedi that are still alive, because I would have to assume that they'd have to be alive to be able to transfer M count, or maybe not, because I know, like, I think they did it with Luke's hand or something like that too. But I'm just wondering if they take Jedi, put them in these, and what if one of those Jedi is Mace Windu? Let's say his body is intact, or maybe perhaps even survives the fall, but is just badly damaged. Because my thing is that I was thinking about this, and I was kind of chatting with Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars, in his Discord, and he disagreed with me, and that's fine. But I was like, you gotta wonder if Palpatine throws one of the most powerful Jedi out the window. We could safely assume, because we know people have fallen from high buildings and things before. Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars, like, well, his body probably just splat as soon as it hit the ground. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is Star Wars, so anything is possible. But you gotta wonder, wouldn't, even if he himself wouldn't do it, don't you think he would go send somebody to, if he knew that he needed force sensitive beings for Project Necromancer? Wouldn't he go at least scout out the area to try to get Windu to take him to Mount Tantus for experimentation? I mean, just at a basic, fundamental, logical level, assuming that his body would still be intact, maybe not even alive, but let's just say intact. Don't you think he would go try to find it so that he could bring it back for experimentation?
Yeah.
Am I like
mean,
Tony Cat's
I
Paws?
don't
Tell
think
me in the chat. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong, just at a logical level. To me personally, I don't want that. Like, if he's dead, I'm fine with it, and they're still using him, that's fine. But for him to still be alive, I do not want that to be a thing. I feel like it ruins the whole point of Revenge of the Sith. Like, it ruins the whole it ruins the whole Anakin flipping in the first place. It's like, hey, you did that thing, he's still turned, but like he's still alive. So is there really consequences? Like, to me, that's just, in my
Well, I
mind, I
mean,
just don't
there's
like it.
I know what you're saying, because that's kind of what Mike said too. He's like, I don't want it to be like that, and I'm like, I guess I kind of disagree with what you're saying in that there's still consequences. I mean, literally, it doesn't prevent Anakin from not turning to the dark side and committing Order
No,
66.
no, but the fact is that if I know that Mace is alive, Revenge of the Sith feels a lot less exciting for me, and I I won't feel those emotions like it's supposed to be done and how George portrayed it in the first place.
Even if because like I'm saying he's alive, but I'm not saying he's like gonna come back for projects. Like I know that's what I was saying about Sam Jackson, but I'm not saying he's necessarily gonna pop up and like he's gonna escape and pop up in a new project. I'm just saying he gets taken to Tantus and he's used as a means.
Yeah, no, like from the logical level, I agree with what you're saying. Like I agree, like that's probably what happens. I'm just saying if he is truly alive, it just changes what, and I don't care if we see his body, I'm fine of being like, hey, we see his body, like this is Mace
Mhm,
Windu, you know. But
mhm.
for him to pop back up, have like a few lines, and then even if he still dies in that episode,
See,
because
I don't think that's the thing. I don't think he's like I think he might be alive, but he might be like in a coma, unconscious state. We never hear from him. He's just there. So he's like he's alive, but he's dead.
so basically what you're wanting is like an Echo situation.
Yes. Yes, I suppose. I just think it makes sense. Like,
No, logically, I agree with you.
but Mike's
I
like,
just
his body would splat. And I'm like, would it? I mean, yes, scientifically speaking, it would probably,
yes, and I agree
but
with
it's
you.
Star Wars.
We've seen Jedi, we've seen Anakin and Ahsoka jump from that bridge before, and they've been able to like catch themselves. And is it the movie? It's like the first couple of episodes, or it's in the Clone Wars movie. Like, I agree. Like, we've seen great Jedi jump and do miraculous stuff. I just think it changes my perception of Revenge of the Sith, and I don't want that to be messed with. Logically,
Yeah.
I agree with you. Just my
Hmm.
perception of it, my feelings from it, I really don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Let me see.
But I like your logical theory on that. Like, I agree with you. I think that's probably what happened.
Yeah, see, like to me, it just makes sense. But I don't know. It's just like I was thinking about it, and I'm like, he he wouldn't just he. It doesn't make sense for him to do it if there is no Project
Unless,
Necromancer. But if there is a
un,
Project Necromancer, he wouldn't want every single Jedi at his disposal to
sure,
use. Because what I think is happening is I would assume that there's only so much blood M count you can suck out of a vessel, especially
sure,
if it's not sustained living
right,
and creating new blood. There's only so much you
yeah,
could suck out before it's not useful. So to me,
right,
if he knew that there's any chance at all that Mace might be out there, he would go try to find him and take him for experimentation. And again,
right.
I'm not
Which,
saying that he is necessarily alive to the point where he can have a full-fledged conversation,
right.
but I'm
No,
just saying. Hey,
yeah, I get
Travis
your logical
Mitchell,
point.
Travis from last week is back in the chat. It's good to see you, Travis. He says, which Jedi is coming back now? We're talking about my theory regarding Mace Windu, Travis. And basically, the brief rundown is my hunch and my theory is that I'm going to create a video about that will come out in a few days. Is that Palpatine, when Mace Windu was thrown out the window in his office, theoretically speaking, he could be alive, maybe permanently damaged and injured to the point where he can't move, but he might be alive. And even if he isn't alive, wouldn't knowing now, I assume you've watched The Bad Batch, Travis, but knowing now what we know about Project Necromancer, wouldn't he go try to find Mace Windu, who's perhaps badly injured or damaged, whatever, and bring him back to Mount Tantus to be part of the specimens in the vault that they use for research? Logically, it makes sense to me, but I guess it all depends on
My
if Jedi splat when they hit the ground. So,
well, my so they had to be thinking about this project for a while, but my other question is, if they didn't know that they needed that or whatever, like if this is like a new project, and like Order 66 happens and then Palpatine's like, "Hey, I want to do this,"
mhm.
and like think of a way to do this, then that would have been after Order 66, and then whatever happened to the Jedi. Maybe he didn't know at that point. That would be my only other suggestion is like if you're not gonna do Mace, like it could be other Jedi. I can agree with that, but
We'll see.
I just don't.
Travis coming to my rescue here makes a really solid point. Basically, what you were just saying, it could be any Jedi, but what Travis says here is the most arrogant Jedi who represents the worst part of the Jedi Order could live to see what became of his action, which has the most weight. And I didn't even think about it from that angle, and I'll probably include that in my video, Travis, if you don't mind, is apart from being fan service of seeing Mace Windu, how interesting and complex of a reality of that the one who is partially responsible for all of this, for not seeing Anakin as who he was, not trusting Anakin. For him to be a part of the now legacy of Palpatine and the contingency. Obviously, it doesn't work because we have episode 9, but for him to be a part of that is kind of meaningful. Not meaningful, like it's kind of poetic, I guess, I suppose would be the word.
It's a poetic thing. I don't care. As long as if it's any other Jedi, I could care less. Do it. Fan service it up. But for Mace Windu, I can't see it. I don't want it. I just don't want it. I really don't.
He says, in the High Republic novel Light of the Jedi, it's established that Padawans are trained by literally being thrown off buildings to make themselves slow their falls. Seemed like a wink to Mace. So
yeah,
there you
well,
go.
we didn't really read the High Republic novels, so I don't consider them canon.
We're just casual fans. What can we say?
Yeah.
So it says greetings to Kathleen and Tony. I'm sorry, Kathleen and Tony. I know you have a lot of chats. I might be able to come and pick those up. I appreciate you all three being here. It's really great to have you guys all here talking about this stuff. Tony says if Mace needs a redemption, then also Barriss. And then Kathleen says Mace was responsible for creating Anakin to Vader. I really don't care for Mace. Yeah, I don't care for Mace. Like Mace in of himself is a cool use, but it's really, and Journeyman and I talk about this. It's so painful. To see that.
Oh yeah, it's
in the Revenge of the Sith, where it's like Anakin, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, and he still gets in his ship and flies over there.
Yeah,
and it's all because of Mace. Like, and not necessarily, I shouldn't say all because of Mace, because Obi-Wan had to do with it. Yoda had to do with it. It's Jedi.
The struggle. It's the struggle. It's Anakin's personal struggle of what he wants. He wants his personal life. He wants Padme, but then he wants the prestige of it, the title of being master. So his professional life. He's trying to choose both, and he can't really choose both at that point. But what he tries to force both, and that's why he goes over there. He's like, I want both.
Yeah. So it should just be interesting to me if in one of those chambers is Mace Windu. I'm just saying. saying.
No. And if it is, then I'll throw a fit about it. But until that happens,
and you'll also owe me something because I'm the greatest.
A pizza.
Like,
how about that?
A pizza, that works. It was like, what did Tony say last week? We're casual fans who love Star Wars. Something about a lot of theories, and usually we don't get them right, or sometimes we get them right, or I don't know. I can't remember what he said, but it was funny. Okay, episode 3, Shadows and Tantus. We're still talking about it. What else? Anything else?
Basically, what I have.
This is a funny comment. I thought Mace became a permanent street on the where's that? Well, not based off of what Travis says. You can slow it down.
So once we get after the Emperor part, we have Omega escaping. They're fighting in the jungle, and then they find out that it's Omega's blood that they need, and then they blast off, and that's where we're kind of left off at. And I thought after those 3 episodes, I really wanted the 4th one. Like, that's how I literally felt.
Yeah. So what would you give episode 3 then out of 10? Travis, if you want, we're rating all 3 episodes out of 10. You can give your collective out of 10 out of all the episodes, or if you want to drop each individual episode out of 10, your rating, that's awesome too.
So my rating, honestly, is like, I don't know if it averages out, but I really liked it, and I would do a 9 on that one.
So I would say a 9.5, and I'd say that's where my 9.5 comes out of for all three combined. I know average wise it doesn't make sense, but looking at them in the collective, knowing that we all got them, so yeah, I would say a 9.5 for the episode. Travis, he says, I'll admit I'm on season 1 of the Bad Batch still, haha, but don't care about the spoilers too much. You haven't even seen the last the 3 episodes? Oh no.
Oh, he's on season 1, man. Catch
Yeah.
up. Gotta catch up.
Kathleen says 3 was a 9. Okay. So did you give your rating? Did I miss it?
Yeah, I said 9.
9. Okay, so you and Kathleen are kind of like on the same wavelength.
Mhm.
Um, two two guys that love Star Wars, but somehow their theories don't.
I love it. I love it.
I'm telling you, you've been wanting a channel idea, so you're missed opportunities here. Travis says a friend of mine theorized Jar Jar rescued Mace and brought him to the underwater city for his exile recovery, which I don't hate.
I
Kathleen says
mean,
no more
I
Jar
mean,
Jar.
I mean, Jar Jar's probably just drowning Mace Windu. He's like, "Why'd
Yeah.
you do it?"
Why'd you do it? Well, they're both kind of. Jar Jar is responsible for the political landscape of the galaxy. He votes Palpatine in, and then Mace is responsible for Anakin, like kind
Personal,
of
yeah.
personally. So it's like
Oh.
maybe they'd actually be friends.
Maybe they actually.
Tony says
I
my
want.
AI tells me 8.978 for episode 3. So is this your? I I have
I
questions.
think.
Uh, drowning me. Oh goodness, that's funny. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the Bad Batch. I am excited for episode 4. I think there's going to be a lot of good that comes out of this stuff for sure. um, we're already an hour into it, and there's a couple of other things I wanted to go over. Did you want
Yeah,
to? Did
sure.
you hear about the gaming news that has came out recently?
No, I have not. About
So two things. One, they're coming out with a Mandalorian video game. Did you hear about this?
no.
So
Is
this
it
isn't
actually like on Star Wars' page?
it's a legit thing as far as my understanding. It's a Mandalorian video game created by the same developers. I think that's the word. I believe the developer is Respawn for Fallen Order and Survivor, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's who's doing this game. So the same people who create are doing Fallen Order Survivor is creating a Mandalorian video game.
Interesting.
It's not supposed to be. It's not Mandalorian and Grogu. I believe it's just a Mandalorian game, probably a whole separate character, which I think is going to be really interesting because I could see
So
them
basically,
doing.
like the people of Mandalore is what there's probably.
I would assume that it's probably going to be a bounty hunter. I can look it up too. I would assume it's going to be like a bounty hunter. But what's interesting is or what I think they're doing, there's been all these theories about Cal Kestis coming into live action. And
Oh,
I'm wondering if maybe they're just going like if Respawn, the same developer who's doing this game, is doing the the Survivor Jedi games, whatever. I'm wondering if like they'll do kind of like their own little obviously this is all taking place in the same universe, but like I'm wondering if Cal Kestis could make an appearance in this video game, and they'll have their own like little Mandoverse on a video game platform, and not necessarily bring these characters into live action or into like the media that we see
that's
on the screen.
that's fair.
So
Yeah.
that's just my thought. Let me see if I can pull up more information on this real quick. So what are your first thoughts on that?
Well, at first,
As someone who's played the games, because I don't generally play video games, so
right. Survivor was good. Fallen Order was great. Survivor's stuff was the action and everything, like this stylistic choice and type of attacking was really good. Um, but when you said Mando game or Mandalorian game, I thought you meant Grogu in Mandalorian, and I'm like, they're giving us a lot of Mando and Grogu. That's what I thought that it was going to be about. But if it's just another Mandalorian, I'm fine
Mm-hmm.
with that. Like, bring someone else into the mix and get their character developed. Because I feel like eventually, in a big theory picture, I feel like for Dave's movie or whatever they're doing, I feel like eventually they're doing the Avengers for Star Wars, and we're probably going to get all these characters in the movie, whether it's
Yeah.
in media, comics, or whatever. Like, I feel like they're all just going to come up in there at some point.
Yeah. So I'll read to you here Insider Gaming, the article about this. Insider gaming sources have revealed that Respawn Entertainment is developing a. So this is the interesting part too, a
Hmm.
first-person Star Wars Mandalorian game that is in its early stages of development.
Mm,
First person. So
yeah, I don't like that. To be honest
the
with you, I don't like it.
says according to sources, the game will see the player take control of a Mandalorian bounty hunter, unclear who, set during the time when the Galactic Empire is dominating across the galaxy. It's your job as a bounty hunter to capture bounties dead or alive for the cash rewards. A first As first reported by Venture Beach Jeff Grubb, the game was being led by Respawn creative director Mohammed Alavi, who left the studio to pursue his next adventure. According to Grubb, who didn't disclose it was a Star Wars game at the time, but has recently, the game will be focused on mobility and style as guiding principles. The game's high mobility has been made possible storytelling-wise thanks to the Mandalorian's jetpack, which allows the player to perform horizontal dashing, vertical jumping, boost sliding, and more. Sources describe the game as very fast-paced, and as such will reward players who play in this style. For example, the player's health will mainly regenerate based on successive kills.
So, my question at that point is this to me feels like a multiplayer game and not like a story based.
Well, it's not open world, so there's that too. No, I mean, to me, it sounds maybe more story based. I don't know. I don't know. I,
Yeah,
I was on board with it until they said the first person. I thought that was interesting because, like Tony brought up something, says not many choices to change the face if you're wearing a helmet all the time. Maybe they will have mods for different helmets, but if you can't even see the helmet most of the time, it's kind of pointless.
my whole thing is I like the third person kind of Uncharted Fallen Order Jedi Survivor thing because you can see all the movements that you're doing and you feel like even though it's third person, you feel like you're immersed in that world.
Hmm.
And so I just I just don't want to. I don't think a first person shooter will go very well for
Yeah,
that type of thing. I feel
yeah.
like it
I don't
needs to
know.
be third person or not.
Yeah, it would be interesting for sure. I wanted to touch on this comment from Travis. Said, I'm no gamer, but it'd be rad if the surviving Jedi like Reva, Voss, and Ventress lead to them appearing in the third Jedi game as playable characters. And then Kathleen said, please, no Reva.
Yes, please. No review.
So
I don't know.
it,
I
it
mean,
would be
I
interesting.
guess we'll
I mean,
see. But
it's like, where is Reva? Like, no, we can't go down this rabbit hole, but
no,
seriously, where
we
is Reva?
we are not going to get negative here. We're trying to be positive.
We refuse. We will not be negative. Let's see. Tony had to hop off, it looks like, for a little bit. And Kathleen, his fellow senator, said, may the force be with you. So thank you, Tony. Um, let's see. Travis says, I speculate Bad Batch Season 3 will cross paths with The Mandalorian Season 3, Kelleran taking Grogu to the Bad Batch, where they have to help them escape the Empire. Now, that is a theory I believe could be true.
I speculate Bad Batch 3 will cross paths with the Mandalorian 3, Kelleran taking Grogu to the Bad Batch where they have to. It's possible.
Yeah. It is possible. I don't know. It's just my question for the chat would be: is the Bad Batch the series, the animated series that you bring Grogu into? Is it this one? You know,
I mean, probably not.
someone, I think it was Star Wars Santa. I was listening to his live stream. He was saying it'd be kind of interesting to see a Tales of the Jedi for Keller and Beck, the person who takes Grogu in Mandalorian season 3.
Right.
It'd be a Tales of the Jedi for Keller and Beck, and let that kind of explain his backstory and where he takes Grogu to. It's just a thought. Just a thought. Let's see here. Kathleen says, Tony, the redeemed Grand Inquisitor from Rebels going after post-Vader Inquisitors would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting too. Travis says, I think the smarter move would not to even show Grogu, just have him in the pod the whole time, mentioning him as cargo. Oh, that's interesting. So you don't show him. It's just the fans know that Grogu's in the ship. Like we see Kelleran Beck show up and he's like, I got important cargo I'm transferring. And we all know it's Grogu, but we don't actually see him. That could work. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Senator Kathleen says, no, too soon to see Grogu in storyline. I don't know if it's too soon.
I just feel like
story-wise
out by Grogu.
Yeah.
So you can see him in an animated thing like this. Like we need to give it a couple of years and let us all digest Grogu, and then when he comes into the movie theaters, like we'll be appreciative of him again.
Yeah. Kathleen says, ooh, Travis, that would work. I agree. I do think that would work. Not necessarily seeing him on screen, but knowing that he's there, you know. By the way, I'm loving this conversation tonight. Thank you all so much for being here. Travis, I know Tony last week was trying to get you a membership. One thing that I would love to do, we have a lot that I still want to go over, and we'll cover as much as I can. But one thing I would love to do, Journeyman, if you're down, maybe sometime early next week or this week, we could do. So YouTube came out with a new feature for live streamings. It's basically like the shorts version of live streaming. And it's done on a mobile device. So when you live stream, it's like it's built for mobile devices and not like
interesting
computers. And so I thought we could. It's mainly built for just kind of like there's not a lot of structure, which there's not a lot of structure to what we're doing right now. But I just thought like we could just hop on and just see who pops in the chat and just have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
And I would love to make that members only, just to make sure that our members, our senators of the channel, are getting a bang for their buck. And so, Kathleen, Tony, if you watch this on the replay, be looking out for maybe like a short little stream next week for members only. And Travis, certainly, if you want to become a member, it's $2.99 a month. And it just really helps me out as a creator here on YouTube, looking to do a lot of fun things in the future. So I haven't seen anybody test out the emojis. Kathleen, can you test out the emojis to see if they work? I haven't seen Tony use it, and some of the other members, I haven't seen them use it. So I'm curious if the emojis even work. So let me know. But yeah, a lot of fun conversation happening. I would love to do a senators only stream during the week sometimes too, just let the senators hop in and have some discourse about Star Wars. So Palpatine, 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 Palpatine. I believe that is the emojis. So I just can't see them. So I think they work. Thanks, Kathleen, for testing that out. I appreciate that. I thought that they were there. I just nobody ever used them. So let's see. Travis says Bad Batch has already functioned a lot like Forrest Gump in them unintentionally affecting the saga, even in small ways, like getting Jabba's Rancor. That's true. Like they've been a part of some pretty. Don't mean big in the sense of like
The grand scope of them, yeah.
the grand scope. What am I like? Like they're just like, oh, that's a cool little tie-in. It's kind of like Dooku in Tales of the Jedi when we see him delete the Camino files. It's like, oh, that's not like a big thing, but that's kind of like a big, like it's one of those things. If you know, kind of things.
Right.
You know, if you know,
Or
you
it's
know.
just like information that we really didn't need, but it's like, hey, we know that now. So it's like,
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about Star Wars is those if you know type of moments because that's really how you bring me in as a fan. It's like you show you care for me by those things, if that makes sense. Um,
absolutely.
let's see. Okay, so there's the Mandalorian video game. Now,
Okay.
here's for the other video game news that I think you'll
Okay.
like, and I'm probably actually going to get this when it comes out. So Battlefront, right?
Yep.
So just a second, pulling it up.
They're making a third one.
They are not making a third one. However,
Okay.
they are. So you never played these. Do you remember me telling you how much fun the PS2 the original Battlefront and Battlefront 2s are?
So yeah, I actually okay. If you're gonna say that they're revamping those and bringing them on PlayStation for PS5, is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Did you already see that?
No, but the way that you're talking right now makes me think that that's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing. They're remastering, revamping. I know there's different ways you can say it. Basically, yes, they're releasing those games on PS4 and PS5 platforms, which I think is
That's great.
freaking amazing. Like
Which I
those
did
games are
play.
fun.
Which I did play it over at my friend's house. So that was like a little nostalgia trip that I never went down, but seeing that, I'm like, I see how that you can
Yes.
be
So I'm really
nostalgic about that.
I think they're coming out on March 14th. Um, let's see. Here, I'll just read this article now. Asper is proud to announce, in celebration of the 20th anniversary of the beloved Star Wars Battlefront series, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 will soon be able to play the classic Star Wars Battlefront games online and offline in a complete collection. So that's cool. So you can even play them
Ooh,
online, I guess. That'll be fun. On March 14th, PlayStation players can get back online and fight in iconic battles from across the Star Wars galaxy.
okay, yes, I'm getting it. I don't care.
Yeah, that's because like bonus content. That's right. Classic bonus content has been restored, included and is premiering for the first time on PlayStation. We welcome Jedi General from the Clone Wars and member of the High Council, Kit Fisto, as a playable
Ooh,
hero. Kit Fisto's special abilities are Saber Throw and Force Orb, making him a fierce contender. Who's also brought linking Sith Assassin, Asajj Ventress, so you can play as Asajj Ventress.
that's really
That's really
cool.
cool. Yeah. Up to 64 player online multiplayer is back. So that's really cool. Like those games were fun.
I never
So
played them, but I played it over at my friend's house, and that was I. Once again, I can see the nostalgia for it.
yeah, we'll
Honestly, just them having a PS2 brought back memories of playing it on the
Yeah.
PS2s.
Yeah, that's why I pulled up Travis's comment here. I'm not a gamer, but those original Battlefront games were my life at one point. Yeah, they were
Absolutely.
mine too. I love them. They're so much fun. So I'm hoping they're not too expensive because it's like I don't want to fork out an arm and a leg for these. But that's really cool, and I'm glad that they're doing that. So.
I'm gonna have to fork over an arm and a leg for all those three. Maybe not the Mandalorian game, but I'm definitely getting the Battlefront games, and I got to get the college football game now. So those are the games I'm having to get.
Yeah. Travis says the Mandalorian game would be a great way to continue Grief Karga's story. Use Carl Weathers' likeness in the casting a new actor. That's really true. I mean, it's a good point. Even if obviously, I think it would take place before the Mandalorian timeline, but we could definitely see Grief Karga. And Senator Kathleen says, "Rip Carl Weathers." Yeah, so sad.
Absolutely.
It's so sad to see all these, Star Wars
Legends.
actors like dying, especially. I mean, any death is sad, but it's like especially actors who are in the middle of crafting new stories for us.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to swallow. Travis says trailer voice for the first time on PS5 relive the unforgettable experience of losing half your squad. You couldn't make it through in 30 seconds on the Death Star because they all ran and fell off the catwalk like idiots.
For the first time on PS5, the unforgettable experience of losing half your squad in 30 seconds on the Death Star because they all fell off and ran away like idiots.
That's good. That's pretty good. That is rich. That is funny. Yeah. So there you go. There's some positive Star Wars gaming news to offset the Mandalorian game. I'm excited about it. I really am.
And when did you say for the Battlefront?
March 14th. Yeah, so
March
right around
14th.
the corner. Right around the corner. Cool. Okay, so that was the gaming news. What else did I have for us? Yes. The Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So we've talked about this a little bit before. You knew about this, right?
Yep.
Okay. So they released the budget for it.
Okay.
So
should I be worried?
You should.
Okay.
Let me pull up the article from Bespin Bulletin.
If it is lower than what they gave Andor, I'm going to.
Let's see. I think this is it. Okay, so this is from the Bespin Bulletin. So this is about the budget and also how long they're supposed to be filming. So the article title is "How long will Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu film for?" Bespin Bolton, who's a very reliable scooper and leaker, says last month Lucasfilm formally announced The Mandalorian and Grogu, a feature film that follows the hit Disney Plus series The Mandalorian. At the time, Lucasfilm only shared that the production on the movie would start later this year, but earlier this month, Production Weekly and the FTIA shared the filming on the Jon Favreau directed flick is due to begin on June 17th, 2024. So filming will start this year. When covering the reports, I shared that I too had heard the month of June being the start window. I can also now add when filming is currently slated to finish. So we know when it starts and we know when we're expecting it to be finished. According to his sources, filming on The Mandalorian and Grogu will run from June until October, making it a 4-month-long shoot.
That doesn't sound that they're filming for.
For comparison, the last season of The Mandalorian, season 3, filmed from late September 2021 until March 2022, a 6-month shoot.
Great.
And that's just principal photography and reshoots. Pickups didn't happen later on. If all goes to plan, Lucasfilm will have plenty of time to get The Mandalorian and Grogu ready for a 2026 release. So there's more, but what are your first thoughts on that?
So basically, what I'm hearing is they were so rushed on getting. They're trying to do the Ray thing. They're like, hey, let's come up with this Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and then we're gonna rush that one as well. It's like, what are we doing here? At least that's my first initial reaction to it. Like, it feels the exact same way.
It doesn't sound good.
It doesn't
Doesn't
sound good. Now, will the finished product be that? I don't know, but
Yeah, I was watching Josh from the Den of Nerds on this one, and he's like, "This doesn't exactly inspire a lot of confidence." And as you could probably know, Josh had a lot more to say than just that. But he's like, "This doesn't necessarily make me excited for it," and I would agree with him.
please continue with the budget so I could give.
The budget, yes, we will continue. Let's hear. The last season of The Mandalorian spent a year in post-production, and we assumed that the same would happen for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, meaning the film could be complete well in advance of the next Star Wars release date on Disney's calendar, May 22nd, 2026. Disney has confirmed that The Mandalorian and Grogu will release in 2026, but didn't specify when, even when two untitled Star Wars movies listed on their 2026 calendar. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, here's the budget, I think.
Okay.
One thing Jeff Snyder from The Insider has repeatedly mentioned on his podcast, The Hot Mic, is that Disney is looking to spend less on their films. So before I go any farther, and I think you may have even heard that, like Bob Iger is like pretty adamant on spending less money on films in general. So keep that in mind.
Sure. Yeah.
For example, Snyder has shared that Disney didn't want to pay high fees for the Fantastic Four cast, and that Blade would be made for under $100 million. This leads me to this minor tidbit I'd heard from a singular source that the budget on The Mandalorian and Grogu isn't as high as what season. Sorry, let me back up. That the budget of The Mandalorian and Grogu isn't as high as what a season of The Mandalorian would cost. So it's less money for a movie. They're looking to spend less money than what a season of The Mandalorian would cost.
Explain that to me. That makes no sense to me.
Well, he goes on a little bit here. The first season of The Mandalorian was reported to cost $15 million an episode. This brings the budget to $120 million for the first season. We don't know if the series became more expensive with each season. You would assume it would have, especially with season 3 in particular. It's also been reported that Skeleton Crew, the upcoming live-action series from John Watts, is the most expensive LA-based Star Wars series. The Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, at $136 million. So with that in mind, I'd expect The Mandalorian and Grogu to cost $120 million or less.
$120 million or less. Okay.
Do you want me to keep going for context?
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
Personally, I'm happy that Disney are seemingly making their films for a more reasonable price, especially following a turbulent year at the box office. It's likely going to become the new normal in Hollywood that these blockbusters would cost less than what they did in the previous years. It's been reported that Universal's Fast and Furious 11 would cost less than $200 million. That might seem like an incredibly high number, and it is, but the last film in the franchise cost over $300 million. It's not 2019 anymore. When it seemed a new film was crossing $1 billion every few weeks, movies and movie theaters in general are making less money than they did pre-pandemic. With a budget of $120 million or less, it means that it's easier for The Mandalorian and Grogu to become profitable, even if made by Solo, a Star Wars study. Even if it made Solo a Star Wars story money at the box office, it would stand to make money. The Mandalorian had $120 million spread across 8 episodes and looked pretty good with all things considered. $120 million on a 2-hour-long film, obviously this is just an estimate, is more than enough in my opinion. And then he goes on to talk about, what the season 4 could look like if there's even going to be a season 4. But
Sure.
I guess he makes a good point there. Is like it cost $120 million for 8 episodes of
Mando.
season 1. So
Yeah.
you break that down into 2 hours, and maybe it's more than enough, but I don't know. Tony says, "Did I just join an economic
Economic
class?"
class?
Travis says, "We didn't join an economic class. We've joined the Trade Federation."
Exactly.
So what do you think? Like, so let me go back up to Kathleen. Kathleen made a good point here. This is something that Josh mentioned, or someone in Josh's chat mentioned. Kathleen said maybe they've already done some shooting in anticipation for Mando 4, but just using it in the movie. So maybe that's why they're not filming as long, is because they have some of the stuff already from The Mandalorian 4. Because I believe at one point The Mandalorian 4 was happening. So they may already have some stuff for it, and they're just going to use it in the movie.
Probably.
But what do you think? Josh was like, this doesn't necessarily inspire confidence.
I would have to agree with that. But I also do recognize that it's not 2019 anymore and that the movie's it's really the studio's fault in the first place. So I'm not really like um I'm not really feeling sorry for the studios. Like it's their own dang fault that they're in this conundrum. But like they're not making money off of it, so of course they're gonna spend less on their high end products. Even if they really want to and spend a bajillion dollars on their products, like it's not gonna happen if they're not making money off of it. So I
Right.
sort of understand it from that point, but like I just looked up what Andor makes
The
or
budget for Andor.
the budget for Andor, and this
Mm-hmm.
is an estimation, and they're making their budget is $250 million. And I'm
So you're
sorry, that show is
talking
boring.
half that.
Yes.
Well, the fact that it's boring doesn't even mean, because like I was thinking of all the things that go into budget. It's all the props, like location, like where are you filming? Are you
Sure, and
filming in the volume? Are you filming on open land? What actors do
the
you
actors
have?
and yeah, I get it. I'm just
So like the Andor being boring is more
I know, but that's the low-hanging fruit that I go off of is, did I like the show? Was it enjoying? And did that meet my expectations for the budget that you
Mhm.
have?
Sure.
No,
So
then
you're looking at
I'm
half from the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, the movie that's supposed to bring back in all the Star Wars fans leading into the Rey movie to get us primed and ready to go, is going to be made on a budget that is less than half of what was made for used
I
to make
think what they're
Andor.
banking I think what they're banking on is just the Mando and Grogu name, and they're like, "Well, we really aren't gonna make any money with the Rey movie, but we might be able to make some money with Mando and Grogu."
It better be darn good.
That's all that's really what it comes down to. It better be good or once again, I keep asking the question, and I'm really not being negative about this. How has Kathy not been fired? That's all my
Well,
explanation for this. It's
but
like
it's like, see, that's the thing. I don't even, I mean, he talks about it too. He's like, it's not necessarily a bad thing, I guess. Like, all of even the Fast and Furious franchise is trending in that direction. Like, people don't go to the movies anymore.
no, and I
Like,
felt like
I mean,
yeah, I felt like
so,
we were trending toward a direction of going back to the movies more than we were not
I mean,
going.
but you
But
see, I mean, even in Marvel, they don't hardly make any money
yeah,
either.
yeah,
Hey, look up
and
the
it,
Acolyte budget.
Acolyte.
Kathleen is asking about the Acolyte budget. That's actually our
Gotcha.
next piece of news. But I
Acolyte.
just thought it was interesting. It's like I get what Josh was like. I get what he was saying. He's like, it doesn't necessarily inspire confidence. But then when I read the article, I was curious to see what your take was. When you read the article, it kind of puts it into perspective of like, okay, this is happening across all of Hollywood. Like, the goal is to make money. And so
Yeah.
it's not sustainable to just keep pushing out projects and for Disney to keep pushing out projects and not to make money.
No, and I surely do get that. I'm just it's not it's just when you compare them to other things and how great or worse of a shows they are, just low-hanging fruit once again, it's just like, what are we doing here? And I get it,
Yeah.
it's economics at the center of it, but so the Acolyte, from what I see here, is $49.2 million.
$49.2 million. So I guess that doesn't include like any marketing or anything yet.
I
And I
mean,
think marketing is the biggest piece of the pie when it comes to expenses, if I'm
and this is
correct.
coming from IMDb,
Mhm.
so uh,
Kathleen, do you know what the budget is for the Acolyte? Is it the 49? Tony says, I'm glad you guys don't do my taxes. No one ever said we're
I'm
experts on this stuff, Tony. So
I can barely do addition, so
oh goodness. Catching up on some comments here. Cassie Yawn Ambor. Just kidding. I love that show. Travis. Cassie Yawn Ambor.
yeah, no,
Hey, look up the budget for Kenobi.
got you. Kenobi TV show budget. With a total of 6 episodes, Kenobi only cost a total of $90 million.
Okay, so it's more than Kenobi. There you go. Travis says Mando has been stuck behind a paywall for so long. Releasing the first 3 seasons free on TV YouTube would get people talking again, I think. Possibly.
I just
Didn't they
I
release
feel
the
like
first season though?
yeah, they tried to get people ready for season 3,
And it didn't work.
and it really didn't work.
Tony says I can't anymore. I wait till it's on TV now. Ah, Tony, so you have to wait. You have to wait for even like when Star Wars movies comes out, you'll have to wait. Sorry. Kathleen says it's because of the story writing that no one wants to go to the theaters. Maybe if they made movies, people would watch and not the stuff that has been coming out lately. You're not wrong.
I
You're
I
not
agree.
wrong.
It's on the theaters at that point. Like, I don't feel bad that they're not making any money from the movies. It's not our fault that we're not going to watch. We just hate the product. Like, as fans,
Mm-hmm.
we just don't like it.
Yeah, and I think you said the theaters, but I think you're saying it's the studios who are releasing this
Yeah,
stuff.
studios. Yeah, it's not theaters. It's studios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Kathleen said, "I've seen over $250 million plus so far for the Acolyte. That is insane. That's even more than Andor, which I know that it's been the quality of the show, the way they're shooting it is similar to Andor in that they're not doing it all on the volume.
Yeah.
So it would not surprise me if it was that expensive. There's a shot of Vader's helmet being put on Anakin's head in that show that looked like an episode of South Park. So I can't imagine it was that high. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Let's see. I've been waiting for movies to come on TV also. Wow. Even Star Wars, though, Kathleen?
Like, God, yeah.
Tony says, I can't leave my client that I care for, and going to a movie is impossible. I wait. I understand.
That's
Well, we'll try not to
fair.
spoil stuff too much for you when all that stuff comes out. But I'm sure you may not even care. I don't know. You're kind of into spoilers, aren't you, Tony? So let's see. Travis says some movies are fun to just see money being burned, like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where they just demolish 50 cars with a truck.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I like Spider-Man 2,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it's really the end product what we care for. Is it a good movie or is it not? It doesn't really matter how
Yeah.
much money you're spending. It's about the story. And if you can
Yeah.
make a good story, great. We'll come watch it more. If not, then one day we'll pray that you learn about it, like learn how to write a good movie.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. And
Yep.
if we don't spend too much time on this next one, we can keep up. So, Tony, I don't think you were here. I think you're taking care of your client. But what I would really love to start doing is YouTube has this new feature for live streaming where it comes in content uh, on your phone. So I guess just to do a quick little poll, how do you all generally watch streams on YouTube? Do you use your phone? Do you use your computer? You tell me so I know what style of video to do because now YouTube allows you. Oh,
Sorry.
you're good. Now YouTube allows you to do it to where you can stream and it's more compatible with mobile devices. So I thought about doing that. Tony watches on PC. That's good to know. Kathleen, you let me know. Travis, you'll have to let me know how you watch streams. So I want to make sure that I'm.
Well, I was trying to figure out what feature you're talking about for YouTube. It's on the phone, right?
Yeah,
Huh.
I think it's on the shorts feed. Like if you scroll through shorts, it will pull up people who are currently live, and using the aspect ratio for the phone to stream. Just don't ask where viewers are and what they're doing while they watch your streams. Only pain you will feel. Noted. Noted.
So I found the live for the shorts. It says you got to reach 50 subscribers and unlock live streaming for at least on my phone. But
gotcha. Yeah. No. It's just an idea. Let's see. Kathleen says stream by casting to TV from phone so I can comment and watch on the big screen. Okay. So it probably doesn't matter. I might you can still watch it on PC in the format, but I've heard that it kind of also helps you get exposure to new audiences if you do it in a different aspect ratio. So
sure.
everyone will still be able to watch. I just thought I might give it a try. So be on the
I'm
lookout
definitely
for
down to
that.
try it.
We'll keep talking a little bit more here, but I was just throwing that out there. And I really want to do something just for the members. And so I might every couple weeks just do a quick impromptu. I'm going to call it the Galactic Senate stream where we just, as senators and members of the channel, if you're a member, can go and we can just chat together. Probably not have it too structured. We'll just talk back and forth in the chat and get some ideas and stuff going. So, like I said, Travis, if you want to become a member, that option is out there. I know Tony was trying to help you out there last week, and I don't think it quite worked out, but that's okay. But for all you senators, Kathleen, Tony, we'll try to do a member stream just for you all. And lately, what I'm probably going to do too for the members is when I release videos, usually I set them to be scheduled for a certain time, but YouTube also now allows me to let videos come out as members only first. So they're members only for a period of time, and then at one point they'll go public. And so that's also a perk of being a member is early access to videos. So just as a FYI. Let's see. Tony says, I hate typing on the phone. I use the old style keyboard. Fair enough. Let's see. YouTube would be where I cast from. So I guess that would be my answer. Yeah. Yeah. Travis's comment. That was pretty good. Okay. I'll get off my soapbox about streaming and memberships here. Let's see what our last. Yes, the Acolyte. So we've already been talking about it a little bit. So apparently, the Acolyte. Can I have a drum roll, please? We're going to talk about when it's the tentative release date is. Thank you. The tentative release date is June 5th.
Ooh.
So, June 5th is the release date for that. So that means Bad Batch is scheduled to go through May, and then picking up in June, we'll get more Star Wars content. So I would imagine if that's the case, we would probably get a final trailer for the Acolyte on May the 4th.
Yeah. I can see it.
Yeah. That's just.
Has there even been a trailer for Acolyte?
I think they've been released at a certain convention.
But it's not like public. It had no
it's
public.
not public. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I remember it got leaked out at one point, but so there we go. Cat Spas gifted 1 Star Wars Democracy membership. I appreciate that, Kathleen. Oh, Travis got it. He got the membership. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Kathleen, I very much appreciate that. Thank you so much for doing that for him. And we're looking forward to doing a members only stream with you guys. We'll try to do that next week for sure. Journeyman, when are you free next week? Early next week.
Early next
the calendar.
week. Let me look at my schedule.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, Senator. I really appreciate that. Thank you for looking out for the community here. And glad to have you as a senator, Travis. I feel like I have to do this now.
I love democracy. I love the Republic.
I love that. I basically work every day. Early. I get off at 4 on Monday. Get off at 3 on Tuesday. And that's like the earliest if we're doing early week.
Okay. We can shoot for Monday or Tuesday night then.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be able to make whatever we do. It's not if we're doing 8 p.m. or whatever, I can do that. So
okay, cool. Yeah, we'll try that. So be on the lookout, senators, for a stream, members only stream on either Monday or Tuesday. Given nothing comes up, we'll do just a little, nothing scheduled. We can talk about predictions for Bad Batch episode 4. We can just talk about anything Star Wars. I really just want to make sure that I'm giving you all my time because I really love chatting with you guys. So Travis says, George Lucas told Ian McDiarmid Palpatine is well over 100 years old. How would you feel about a much younger Palpatine showing up in Acolyte? Oh, I'd absolutely love it. Nope, like no questions about it.
Palpatine's 100.
Yeah, I think he's older than you think, is what I understood. Has always been my understanding. So
yeah.
Oh,
I guess I didn't know that.
Tony says I would like to see a young Palpatine background series or part of the Acolyte. So I have a question for everybody. What is your hype level for the Acolyte out of 10? Because we're doing everything out of 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at with your hype for the Acolyte? Journeyman, can I put you on the spot, or do you want me to go first?
Just quick thinking about it, like I'm probably at like a 4. Like it's
a 4.
I'm like It's a cool thing, but I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Disney Plus shows anymore.
Yeah.
So
Tony said 9.765. I imagine that's his AI.
probably, yeah.
Kathleen says 1. I'll get to Travis's comment, and he's like, I'm about at a 5, kind of like 50-50. It's like part of me wants to be excited.
I would agree with that. I mean,
mhm.
yeah.
But it's like, yeah, at the same time, like, am I really that excited for it? Not really. But it is what it is, I guess. Travis says people fan cast this guy a lot, but Timothy Chalamet wouldn't be bad as a young Sheev. Yeah, I'm terrible at casting, but I don't think he would be bad. He's the person that plays in Doom, right?
Dune, yeah.
He is Dune, not Doom. Doom.
Yeah.
And he's also he's Wonka, I think.
Yes.
Thank you. The Senator says, Travis, that would be a good pick. Travis Mitchell, I've been reading the High Republic books since they started in 2020, and I wasn't that excited for Acolyte until I found out the characters from the books are in the show, so I'm a bit hyped. Yes, but how hyped out of 10 are you, is the question. And which characters are in it? Because I haven't read the High Republic. I'm probably never will. But what character should we expect to see, Travis? What characters should we expect to see? Yeah, I want to be excited for it, but it's just like, you know?
It's just, I haven't seen anything that great from Disney in terms of live shows that's like, wow, I'm really excited for this. Like, yes, it has a branding behind it, but is it actually going to be worth the money? I don't know. Which, speaking of that, for the plot of it, isn't it about a female Sith, right? Is that the plot of it?
Yeah, someone
like
will have to correct me.
Follows
someone will have to
that
correct
person.
us, but I believe it does follow a Sith.
Which is cool. Like, we're gonna get like a Sith's point of view.
Yeah, for
if
sure.
that's what we're doing.
The Senator says, I listened to the cast talking about it, and it just sounds like it's going to be another The Message series. Just make something good. I'll watch some recaps and think about it. Travis says, Jedi Padawan Vernestra Rowe is a focal character in the book's comics who will be one of the leads in the show. Okay, cool. So I will say this, as much as I'm not like a super big fan of the High Republic, I am glad to see that they are incorporating some of the characters from the books into the Acolyte. Just for people who do like the High Republic, that kind of pays off a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? So I'll say that much. Well, we're pushing 2 hours here. Anything else that you want to talk about Star Wars related?
No, unless the chat wants to talk about anything that they have.
Senators, I think we have all senators in the chat here. Anything that you guys... Oh, let me pull up Travis's message. The books are interesting. We meet Lor Santeca's family. His grandmother has a disease that allows her to see hyperspace paths, which is fascinating. Lor Santeca. Is that the person from the sequel trilogy, episode 7? You know, y'all, I struggle, so you gotta help me out here. I think Lor Santeca's was the person in the sequel trilogy in episode 7. Tony says, yep. Cool. Okay. Kathleen says, almost 2 hours. Boy, that went fast. Yeah, it's good to have you back, Kathleen. I know you've been in Mike's streams lately, so I was telling Tony it's been crazy to see that his Yeah, I started watching Mike. I think he had a little over 1,000 subscribers. I was one of the first people to be in his live streams, and it was basically just him and I talking in his live streams, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm really
Mm-hmm.
glad to see that a guy who loves Star Wars, which huge shout out. So huge shout out to them and him. He gets killed in the first minute of that movie. Yes, that's the guy. Yeah, Travis says, Lore is the dude Kylo strikes down in The Force Awakens. Gotcha.
Sorry, I'm back.
There we go. Cool. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we should cover. I know that Tony and Kathleen are in my Discord. Travis, do you have a Discord? If so, I don't know, Kathleen or Tony, if you have the Discord link, you could throw it in the chat. I can also throw it in the chat as well. I don't know if I can actually do that. Let me see. Or Journeyman, I don't know if you can throw the Discord link in the chat. I'll see if I can do it real quick. I just want to give Travis the opportunity to join the Discord if he has one. Travis says, one bit of growth I've been going through as a fan is learning that things that aren't my Star Wars is just Star Wars to someone else. Even if I hated episode 9, I choose to see it as part of it. I 1000% agree with that. It's something that I feel like we were just talking about recently, right, Journeyman?
Yeah.
It's like even if you don't like something, still seeing it as part. So we're aligned on that, Travis. And I would say that Kathleen and Tony are that way too. So you're in good company with your fellow senators. We're all just Star Wars fans who really try to want to be positive at the end of the day. We'll say if we don't like something. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Absolutely.
But we're just trying to all just
to be honest
share
with
our
you,
opinion.
I don't know how to throw it in the chat.
He says, I have this cord charging my phone and that cord plugged in. Dad jokes, and I'm not even a dad. My future kids are screwed. That's good. That's good.
I love it.
Kathleen says, I realized I hadn't eaten supper yet. Between you and Mike's streams, I've lost track of time. I'm going to have to make something. Oh, yeah, I forgot he was streaming earlier today. You know, Kathleen, I really, really, really wanted to, ever since I started watching Mike, I'm like, I feel like it would be good for the three of us or however we want to make it happen to do a stream sometime. So you got to tell him sometime we got to hook up and we'll try to do a joint stream here. That could be a lot of fun.
I probably need to get back onto Mike's streams. I haven't watched him in a while.
He's going strong. I think someone tell me how many subscribers he has now. Because like I said, when I started watching him, he had 1,000, and I think he's over 8,000 now. So I'm really been happy to see his growth because I know he's been working really hard for it.
How's the chat been? Is it still pretty?
His chat?
Yeah, his chat specifically.
I want to say I get the opportunity to pop in every once in a while. He streams while I'm at work, so I can never hop in all that often. But I know Tony and Kathleen have been going to his streams. What would you say, Tony, Kathleen? I think Mike probably maybe has 18-ish on average, 20 people watching his streams at one time.
Okay.
We have 4 right now, so we're hot on his heels.
Yeah.
Here, I think I'm able to share invite.
He has 8,000 and 8.95K subs.
Okay, there you go. Tony says 20 average. Yeah, I thought that was about right.
Okay, that's That's still really good.
Here is another from Travis. How does Din keep his hair from turning gray? He uses Mando L'Oreal.
Oh my god. I love it,
Yeah.
Travis. Keep them coming.
Kathleen says 20 plus. He'll reach 10K by the end of the month. Yeah. Yeah, he's crushing it.
That's just crazy growth.
My goal is to have my goal is to have 1,000 by June, which is a hefty goal. I'm at 625 right now.
Hey, I think if we keep this up and we keep doing videos, we can get there.
Yeah. Oh no, Tony. Tony says I'll be dropping off him in a few weeks. I only help the small number sites. Yeah, and you're really good at that, Tony. I'm glad that that's a mission of yours. Makes sense. I mean, you can only compete for people's attention. Like you can only watch so many people. So I'm glad that you're helping me out. And yeah, like I said, my goal is to get to 1,000 by the end of the month. So hey, whatever you all can do to help me get there, I would appreciate it. Not the end of the month, in June. Kathleen said he's getting real close to 10K. Yeah. I want to chat with him. Him, I, and Journeyman, and someone else. I think Honey Badger, which you all may know. He calls him Honey Badger. In his chat, all were talking in his Discord one time. It was really good to chat with him. Do you remember when we did that? We chatted with him in the Discord?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get, well, that's why I said I need to get back on there and like start hinting at like, hey, we need to do a stream together.
Yeah. He's something for sure. Trying to
think of anything else we could talk about. I mean, we could do, if you want to, we could do Bad Batch predictions or wait till for the shorts. I know we said we weren't doing predictions, but at least give like a little tease to what possibly could episode 4 be. Unless you want to wait, and you don't even have to do it.
I say let's do that next week sometime. We could do it for the members. We can do a Bad Batch predictions. Kathleen says, I'll keep sharing your streams on YouTube and get you on more people's radar. I appreciate that, Kathleen.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Tony says, besides, with Travis and I got some good besides, with Travis and I got some good comedians. Yes.
Absolutely.
Let's see. That would be an awesome stream. I know. We got to tell him. Bad Batch predictions would be great. Yeah, we'll do that for the members only. Travis just joined. Cool. I'm glad to have you, Travis. Yeah, I'm really looking forward just to doing more streams and hanging out with you guys. And
absolutely.
Even if I was telling everybody last week, but even if I can't crank out a ton of videos, my main goal is to make sure that I'm streaming at least once a week consistently. And for the members, I would love to do a members only stream, maybe maybe bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, or maybe weekly. We'll see. I just don't want to get myself burnt out because it's tough. So, well, since Travis just joined the Discord and we're all in the Discord, I feel like at this point, maybe we could take the conversation offline, not to get too corporate talk.
We're going to have to circle back around to this conversation.
Yeah. We'll have to circle back to this. But we can take this offline and talk on Discords. These live streams I enjoy better. That's good to know, Tony. The problem is I'm trying to get a big audience, and the live streams aren't always conducive to getting large audiences, which is why I want to try the short route as well, because I think that will put me into different people in front of faces that are not usually scouring for my channel. Travis says the next episode of Bad Batch reveals they feed the Eope some bad food, and he's the one who farted in Jar Jar's face. You just love Jar Jar. That is fascinating. 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 Got some good laughs. So you're a great addition to these streams, Travis. I'm glad that you could join Tony and Kathleen and us for these streams. It'll be fun to have you here over the next couple weeks. So all right. Well, you all are all senators. You have the gavel. Why don't you go ahead and gavel us out? Throw the gavel emoji in the chat, and we'll go ahead and call it a wrap. J-Man, any final thoughts?
Nope. I motion to adjourn.
All right. Motion to adjourn. Senators, go ahead and gavel us out. We're going to go ahead and motion to adjourn the meeting, and we'll see you all next time. May the force be with you always.